Our next speaker is a well-known leader who is a technology visionary. He has been the driving force in building persistent systems from its inception in 1990 to the publicly traded company it is today. He has supported many startups and also has focused his efforts in educating young India and as mentorship. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Anand Deshpande, founder, chairman, MD of Persistent Systems, and a gold sponsor and supporter of BConnect. I would also like to invite Mr. Samir Ahir, CEO of Ardent Privacy, to facilitate the discussion with Mr. Anand Deshpande.
Hello. Hello. How's everyone doing? So far we are on time, I would say, right, as per the regular. But first of all, thank you for coming, and I know we want to get this conversation going. Absolutely. So, are we good in terms of?
Yes.
Can everybody see us? Yeah.
Is my
Okay.
audio okay? Perfect.
So, welcome Anand, and first of all I want to thank Persistent and of course KPIT for their great support along with all the sponsors, but for making this possible and everybody coming out. So I think Anand ji, ओळख द्यायची म्हणजे I think it's a familiar name, पुणे, Mumbai किंवा Maharashtra. So absolutely it's my honor and pleasure. I think it's our honor for BConnect team to have him here, spend entire day with us, and also make this trip for BConnect. So thank you, Anand, so much. So we were talking about it, right? What is the message we want to give? And absolutely. So Anand is being visionary, make it persistent journey. If you see, and we're gonna go through that. But it's amazing, right? The going to $1 billion company. Of course, it's not easy. So I'm basically trying to take, or rather see, hey, what are those secrets and what are the entrepreneurial secrets which can inspire all of us, right? Why we don't have at least 10 or 20 or 100 of those incoming in future. So, welcome Anand.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So first question, I want to ask, how are you doing? After taking the active role
First, so let me also thank you, Samir, for being super persistent in terms of getting me here. And I'd like to thank all the organizers of the BMM, and it's always exciting to be here at BMM. I've been here, I've attended at least 4 or 5 BMMs before, so it's good to be here at another one. And the Bay Area is, of course, my second home in a way, so if I'm in the US, then I know the Bay Area the best, so it's always a pleasure to be here. So it's great, thanks for inviting me.
No, and you are welcome every year. I don't think we can get enough out of you. Right.
No,
so first question, right? How does it feel to be billionaire? And I know that journey 2 years ago. How does it feel?
Well, I don't think too much about it. It's notional wealth in a sense, but hopefully I can do some good with it.
No, absolutely. And when I say that now, I think you are at the operational role have taken up at Persistent. What are you doing currently? Right? Can you give our audience a little bit? They can also get involved if I think you have some probably time. I mean, your schedule is of course busy. The ASR Foundation and the entrepreneurship programs you're running. But give us the idea, right? What you are doing after taking the active role off and moving to a chair in.
Right. So let me just put some context here. So I started Persistent in 1990, and I used to live here in the Bay Area, and then I moved back to start Persistent. I was the CEO of the company till 2019, and now I'm chairman. I have a full-time CEO who runs the show. And the best thing that a chairman should do is to not interfere, which is what I did. So I do many other things because one of the things that I found is that if you have other things to do, then you are less likely to interfere. So that's basically what I'm doing right now. So I have been thinking about this for a while, and I said, I've had a good 30-year run in the company. So I should look for something that will be long-lasting and impactful. So that's my mission. And I have three broad areas in which I'm working on. One set is around entrepreneurship. The second group is around data, computer science, biology, science, technology kind of things. Those are areas that I've done for most of my life. And then I'm thinking a lot more about managing careers, long-term careers, what might happen to jobs and things of that kind. So that's the broad areas. On the entrepreneurship side, I have two programs I run. One program is called Deyasra Foundation. It's a family foundation. We are focused on nano entrepreneurs, so 5 lakh to 1 crore revenue. These are food counters, beauty salons, photographers, dance class, all these kinds of small businesses. And we have templated everything that these small businesses need end to end. And anybody who is, what we find is these small businesses have very common problems: access to market, access to funds, access to compliance, access to technology, and access to people. So we have identified about 125 different processes that are relevant to these kinds of small businesses. And for every one of them, we have like standard operating processes and templates that we make available. So I have a 40 people team full-time working on this. And we have about 300,000 businesses that we have supported through different things. But this is a drop in the ocean in the context of the number of businesses that are very small. India is made up of, there are very few people who run very large businesses like Hanmantrao. Most companies in India, actually the interesting statistics is that roughly 6.5 crores of the companies, 95% of all businesses in India are SMBs, less than 20 crore. And employ less than 20 employees. And 95% of those actually are below 1 crore. So a lot of 1 crore, sub 1 crore companies. 70% of all people employed in India are employed in very small businesses. So that's the reality, and we must make sure that these companies succeed. That's what I'm working on. The other group I work on is something called second orbit. And the theory here is that businesses go through a sequence of S curves. So when you reach the top of your first orbit, which is where the founder, it's a founder-driven business. If you want to scale that business, typically in India it's about 20 crores. To take that to 200 crores, then you need to do very different kinds of programming in some sense. You have to rewire yourselves and do very different sets of things. So we have a program now that helps businesses in the 20 crore range to go to 200 crores. And let me share 2 or 3 other quick things that I'm working on. So one other mission that I'm on is that I find, and this may be of very great relevance to you all, and I would love to see how to collaborate with you as well, as that if you go for any treatment in India, whether it's cancer, diabetes, whatever, you will find you'll get very similar treatment that you get in New York or San Francisco or anywhere else. The reality is that we are treating people in India on the basis of data that is coming from Western data sets. And we have no data of our own. And that's really sad, but that's the reality. So I think we should be creating better data sets for our research so that we can find something meaningful for our, which is relevant to us. So I have 2 programs I'm working with, something called ICGA Foundation, the India Cancer Genome Atlas, and a similar one with diabetes around RSSDI, which is the Research Society for Study of Diabetes in India. So there's a bunch of things around science, technology, data, all these things that I'm working on. And finally, I've been very fascinated about what happens to careers in the future. And actually, I'm doing a workshop in the afternoon sometime to talk about how to navigate your professional career. So if you feel compelled to think about it, you can come in the afternoon.
Yeah, no, thank you, Anand. And of course, we have a session that is actually towards the end of the day, navigating professional career, and I think Anand has a pretty good insight on that. So, entrepreneurship, right, that's been topic of my interest for the last 5 years since I started, Anand. One of the inspiration of the whole BConnect story was the resources, especially in the close-knit community, right, what kind of resources you can get, and I definitely struggled through some initial hiccups there, right, who do I talk to, and absolutely it's a big jump. So I would like to ask you, right, how the persistent journey was so far, and I want to split, or rather that question into 3 types. Right? First is when you just jump, and you actually left your full-time job with I think Sun Microsystems, and then got into starting your own company, I think in 90s, and then you moved, the initial hurdle was basically passed, right? right? And then you went into a little bit of growth stage, and then the next growth is where you are. So walk us through, right? And walk us through. I think you grew up in a Maharashtrian family, right? Just which is kind of a
like all of us here.
Yeah. So what did you eat? A little bit different than others, and that was possibly on the lighter mode. But what I'm saying is, what were those? So how did you think about it? Number one, what are the challenges, right, which can help our audience here and inspire them that okay, this is not something very difficult to do, right? And they need to believe in themselves, right? I think, and we're gonna come to that question later. But walk us through the journey of persistent in next 3 to 4 minutes and see what we can get.
So I think let me say one thing, that Marathi people think too much, and I didn't think much. Okay, that's the secret of success in a sense. Just do, don't think. But at least that is how it started early on. So when I was here at HP, and I was at HP not in Sun, but I was trying to figure out what to do. I was fairly young, meaning I was 28, and I didn't have too many other complex responsibilities. I was single, and I thought it'd be best to try it out at that point, because if you don't do it then, it would not have happened later. So I just, I jumped. Maybe it was, if you had asked me at that time, it was not a very thought through decision. If I had thought too much, I may not have done it. But the fact was that there was an opportunity. I had good exciting things going on, so I just went back and I just stayed on to it. So one was, do first, do things, that's important. And the second one is to be persistent, right? You could give up many times, but I just stayed on. So that is the, meaning instead of being a sequential serial entrepreneur, I've just been at the same place for 35 years. So that's the effect of compounding kind of plays in.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about growing that organization, right? In terms of, I think you had a first hurdle, first few customers, of course. And we are talking about some sales, right? The whole sales. You want to add something about that? In terms of, entrepreneurship is not just about starting your own company, but eventually the same characteristics of basically selling. These are actually required in your regular persistent journey. So what's your secret of selling and making that brand persistent? Brand says a lot. I think you just use that in your opening statement, that be persistent. So tell us about that what are the things you think went right versus other people go wrong, and if you are starting a service or product or whatever company, what people can should learn it.
Yeah, so again, I think we complicate things too much. Entrepreneurship, all these things are a very long word, but actually it's very simple. You should make more money than you spend, and as long as you do that, you are in good shape. And for the services business, it's actually very simple, because you earn, you make sure your customers pay you in time, and you deliver your service to them. So that's really how the business was set up. And the key was to make sure you create the necessary trust that you can create with customers, because finally customers work with people who they trust. So creating and building trust and ensuring that you deliver to the trust is the main theme about how you keep going and getting customers. So I have been very systematic in some sense about trying to make sure that if I see an opportunity, I don't let it go. I make sure I follow up and stay in touch. And a lot of business has come through networks and people in the community who have helped. And it has been a big source of business for us, especially in the early years when nobody knows you. And why would anybody work with someone in India and far away? All kinds of questions. So having some trusted network was very useful and valuable to get this going. So yeah, I think keeping it simple actually helps a lot. Trying to complicate things makes it difficult, and then it becomes very tricky. So I think the simple things that one need to look at, one is to say, okay, what is the market that you're focusing on? Do you have a market? Do you have customers? Start from that. And you need the money and the infrastructure, people, all that stuff to make that happen. And then just keep cranking it one at a time. You can't really become a $1 billion company on day one. So if you had asked me in 1990 about $1 billion and all that, you would have never imagined anything like that. The entire software industry from India was about $30 million. So, it grew slowly and steadily, and when you get to a certain level, you change your aspirations and start thinking bigger and bigger. But you just have to keep adjusting yourselves all the way through. And all large companies are small at one time, so that's a good thing to know.
No, no, absolutely, and that's a great advice, right? Do it whatever you do with people, and of course you need a trusted network, and that's what we are doing, trying to create a trusted network of people. I think there is a business right to be done here, right? I mean, in terms of, I do agree that, right, we kind of over.
Also, one important thing to note is that, while there may not be an immediate business across someone here, you never know. If they remember you, they might come back to you after 2 years, 1 year, 5 years, whenever else, right? So every network edge that you're putting together, it's not just for the immediate benefit, but it could be a long-term benefit as well. So I have lots of customers who have come to me after several years of having known them. So it just happens.
Yeah. One of my buddy in audience, right, he said to me that, right, above that, you have to follow up 8 times. Means not right 8 times every day, but total to before you go into that, hey, no, this is not gonna come. But I want to actually touch on a very interesting topic, and I don't know if you'll agree, we had a little bit chat about it, but I think self-confidence and believing in yourself in terms of, I think, the most important trait. And I don't see that a lot in the Maharashtrian community. Maybe, and that's why I don't have like 10 Anands, right? We just got Ravi Panditji and Jubiliana, but we don't have hundreds of them if you compare that overall, right? In terms of the entrepreneurship, whether it's Mantra or a lot of great entrepreneurs. So for that, what's your kind of suggestion in terms of how difficult is entrepreneurship? Because nobody wants to jump, right? Because I'll tell you, I was looking for sometimes co-founders and leaving your full-time job, right? And you have to make it at some point in time, take that decision. And I think if you see the talent across the community, it's humongous. I mean, you see people working for Facebook, Google, AI. You see some Kerr last name somewhere, right? You go to Tata's, you go to Birla, anywhere. So you see very good workers, right? So what would you advise to them, right? Hey, so entrepreneurship is difficult, but it's not that difficult that I always do this 9 to 5 thing, right? So what are those characteristics? Self-confidence, that's number one. And how we can actually inspire people or make them believe in themselves that they can be Anand Deshpande one day or maybe somewhere close.
I don't know what to tell you, man. So all I can say is that I don't think Marathi people lack self-confidence. They are super confident actually. What I do find though is that they worry too much. So
It's the same thing.
No, I think with entrepreneurship, and this is something that I find in many cases when somebody asks me whether I should do an entrepreneurship job, or should I take up a job, or should I start something on my own. See, one has to remember that you can start a business, and if it doesn't work, you can go back to your job, right? So the risks are very limited. You can always bound them in certain ways, in a way. So you don't have to feel like, it's a one and done type decision that you have to always be an entrepreneur. You start, and if it fails, you can't do anything. And even if a business fails, right, meaning it doesn't work out, the exits are usually not too bad, is what I found. So if people are looking at the worst case scenarios, usually the worst case scenarios in getting started are actually not very bad at all. I think the risks are fairly low. And if they work with some other person, like in your business, if you get someone else to join you, they'd be willing to accept, and you can of course pay them some salary because that's what they're looking for in the short term. But it's actually not that difficult to find people who would be willing to take risks if you convince them. And I think this stuff is changing very dramatically, I think, especially from India where I'm sitting at the moment. I can see that the number of entrepreneurs amongst the Marathi and everyone else is going up very dramatically. And I see lots of startups and a lot of action among startups in India. I'm not sure how many of them will succeed, but people are trying it out for sure. And I'm sort of less focused on those who are starting out. I'm more interested in saying that if someone has already started, then how do we help them succeed? So that's I'm more interested in the scaling part than the starting part. The starting, I think, is quite easy actually.
Yeah. But I would actually, and of course, that's true with the services. I think product needs a lot of capital, right? In terms
Yeah.
of, and that capital you're comparing with very rich resources in Silicon Valley, uh, which you compete with a lot of times. And I think
No,
it does like
but
the
I think
marketing power does
no,
go
I think
down if you
no.
don't have
So I
money.
think you guys have a very wrong impression about what's happening in India. I think India is really the happening place. Okay, if you look at opportunities in India, they are so much better than what you see here. When I come here, it's so depressing. I have lived here, meaning I used to live here 35 years back. It was such an exciting place. Come to San Francisco, walk around, it was like the place to be. Every time I would come to the US, I would say, oh, the airports are so much better, there's so many better flights, your cars are better, and all that. Right now, it's so depressing coming here. Life in India is so much better. There is like, I don't know why people would want to live here, okay, to be very honest. That said, in terms of funding, okay, there is enough funds available in India for startups and for all kinds of money that you might want to have. The market in India right now, okay, and India is not one market, so don't look at India as 1.4 billion people, but you look at it in three parts, okay. So the top part buys everything that US buys. So you'll get the same Apple phones, that the same top 10%. They're buying the same US market things. But then there is a next 40% or so of the Indian population, which is the Bharat 2.0 or whatever you might call it. That is the aspiring population, which actually, if you look at 40% of $1.4 billion, 1.4 billion people, that is a very significant number. That is an aspiring India. And the opportunities that are happening in that market are unbelievable. And I would highly recommend people here who are doing startups also, if you are able to get the scale and price right, then India is a much better market for the Bharat 2.0 market, if you want to do, than any other part of the world. And India is happening. The young people in India are very excited. I think the number of, when I was in college, 90% of the students came to the US. Today, from IITs, less than 10% of the students apply to come to the US. Those who are rich people's kids, like our kids, they come here because they are India mein admission in. So it's a very different life right now.
No, absolutely, and I actually do agree with that because there are a lot of students, like graduate students, who come. And I think
I'm getting so many people who are applying here for grad school. After grad school, job change. Better jobs are available in India, to be honest with you. But just to put a plug here, I have a team here. We are recruiting for India. That's the reason why we sponsor BMM. People from Marathi people here should come back to India. That's where action is. I'm happy to recruit people there. And also, India is ready for business right now. So I think this is the best. Next 10 years in India should be very exciting.
Yeah, and I do agree. There is a lot of energy and and same kind of venture funds are there. So on that recent topic, of course, I think we have some students in the population, and I get the request for internships all the time, right? And I think you actually kind of summarize that. There's so many opportunities, right? You get the best education here, and if you go back, that does not mean that's something below, right? I think that's basically what you say, the gap in understanding that if you have to go back, that's something wrong. I think we should get away with that. I think what's most important probably is what kind of work you get to do. But for the students who are here, right, and who are some of them with us, or whether India or globally, doesn't matter, right, here, would be your suggestion to find basically a good job after they are doing either masters or bachelor's or whatever?
So I will say more about this in the afternoon, okay? But let me give you very briefly what I tell young kids who are graduating right now. So the reality is that most of the kids who you will meet or we meet, they are all going to live past 100. So they're going to work till 2100, okay, 2100. So we have no clue what's going to happen. We don't know what will happen. They're going to work till they're 85. So they'll work till 2085. And whatever we say is not going to last for more than a few years. So I think those who can adapt and learn quickly and network like really well, they are the ones who are going to succeed. So I think we don't know what might be coming. But those who figure it out as it comes along are the ones who are successful. So we need versatile people who are willing to kind of move along with things. Technology is going to be a very small part of what might be the future actually, because technology will become available to everyone. With Ramesh and what he has explained, completely democratized. Everyone will be a programmer. Why would you want to be a programmer? You can be a programmer, but you can do so many things using the technology that will be available. So a lot of different opportunities are opening up. But it is certainly a very exciting time to be 21 in 25.
No, no, absolutely. I don't know how are we doing in terms of time. Are we done? Okay, so we'll give one question. I think you can just say it, otherwise. How you listed?
No, so we are listed in the Indian market. We've been there since 2010. No, it's to provide liquidity to shareholders. That's the main reason you list a company. And we had ESOPs and other reasons for why you need to be listed. And being listed actually puts a lot of pressure on you, which pushes the company in the direction of doing the right things for a long term. So it's a good thing to be listed. And the Indian market is actually a pretty good market right now to be listed. So I don't really see any reason to relist here anymore at the moment. Meaning the market in India is actually very good.
Hey, I know there are a lot of questions in the audience. But we got 5 minutes. Yeah, please go ahead.
How do we, so what I've seen here in the US, being an entrepreneur is in the US, we excel at two things. One is communication, which I think the US, the Americans tend to do better than a lot of other people, which is why we're able to do a lot of complex things, which perhaps aren't done in India yet. Number one. Number two, investment ecosystem, right, is more the skill sets, right, and then the approach, the speed with which, let's say, investment can be acquired for whatever new idea. These seem to be the two advantages. I'd just like to hear your thoughts on those.
I don't have anything specific to comment. I think the reality is, yes, a lot of the US has advantages and has had advantages for many years. But I think India is a happening place, and in the next 10 to 15 years, the excitement, growth opportunities, the rate of growth, the excitement that you see in India right now in the next 10 years, I think is comparable to or even better than what you would have in the US. So having benefited from being here for many years, I think it's a time to leverage your strengths and see how to exploit the market where it's happening, which is in India right now. There is just a large number of people in India, which I said in this Bharat 2.0, who are aspiring to be in the buying zone and all of those kinds of things. Right? So they are starting to now experience consumerism at a very high level. And that number, if you look at any which way, it's twice the population of America. 600 million people in that zone is twice your population here. So, it's a growing, happening place. So it's a good place to try new things.
Yeah, any other questions? Yeah, we'll take the last one, Pranali.
Namaskar, Anandji. Since you have been talking about fostering India and Bharat 2.0, and you want all of us to move there.
No, not move there. We don't have not move there.
Basically, contribute
do business
to
in India.
Contribute to economy and persistent and whatever a lot of initiatives that we are seeing in the entrepreneurship and fostering the ecosystem. Do you have any plans to create a good angel investing network that can bridge this gap? Like, the BConnect, we are trying to foster the entire.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So there are several angel networks in India already, but I think if BConnect wants to set up an angel network in the US to invest in the Indian companies, I would not be the right person to advise you on the legal and taxes and other matters, but I can happily connect you to people who would be able to help you do this stuff. So if you think that BConnect would like to create an angel network and look at angel investments in India, I think we could find a way to do that. I think there are lots of opportunities where once the BConnect group, as you are starting to do, starts to become vibrant, and you decide that, okay, here are the 4 or 5 things that you think the community would like to do. I think there is enough of us in India who are very receptive, willing, and we will work it out to make sure that you get what you're looking for. So I think there is a lot of opportunity to work together, and I'm very excited that I'm here and we can do something together.
Yeah, that means a lot, and can we expect some that start of that fund from you? But anyway, so thank you, big applause for Anand. And that can be a new beginning in terms of what we can do. But thank you so much, Anand, for coming. Sandeep also want to thank you especially for.
So,
I like your tie.
sorry.
I like your tie.
So this is actually my creativity is of course with my wife. A big round of applause to her. So very aptly done, BMM 2.0. But I want to thank you. A big round of applause to Anand Deshpande sir. Thank you so much for being part of this community. Bruhan Maharashtra Mandal again is an organization that is an umbrella organization of over 60-70 Marathi Mandal, Marathi communities in North America. Today we have over 300,000, 400,000 Marathi community living in these two nations, US and Canada. And this is the first time Bruhan Maharashtra Mandal has launched this initiative looking at the future, how to engage Marathi professionals living in North America. इथे बरेचसे जमलेले आहेत, मी मराठीतच बोलतो. A big round of applause to Marathi professionals as well. A good start. And I can assure you, Anand sir is going to be with us. Thank you so much for him. Yesterday actually, he told us की ज्यांना ज्यांना LinkedIn वरती तुम्हाला काही मदत पाहिजे असेल तर please connect with him and he will open up his network to all of us. I'm so grateful for him offering that.
So email is anand@persistent.com. Okay, so if you want to write to me. The problem with LinkedIn is that it doesn't allow me to accept any new people.
Okay, but he's going to be with BConnect program. I'm very happy. Yeah. So please reach out to him, and thank you so much for being part of this new initiative. There are a lot of new speakers lined up. And again, stay with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anand Deshpande. Definitely, we are going to take the leap as a mantra and move ahead.